You are listening to the Hodges Huddle, where we discuss all things in the wide world of sports. Here's your KLSU Sports Team.
Welcome into the Hodges Huddle. I'm your host, Andre Champagne, and today I'm joined by Andon Brabham and Nathan Messina. What's going on?
Nothing much. Just happy to be on another episode of the Hodges Huddle.
Yeah, that's my favorite part of the week right here, getting to be on the Hodges Huddle, man. It's a great podcast. I love hanging out with you guys. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I
Best
also,
podcast in the world, I'd say.
I think we're up there.
I think we're
for sure.
Yeah, we don't get the love we deserve, but
We
that's
deserve
okay.
more love,
That's
which
okay.
is up to y'all. Y'all got to click, share, like, subscribe.
That's what I'm saying.
Tell a friend to tell a friend. The best podcast has come to you with another episode.
Yeah, get your grandma, get your aunt,
Your nanny.
your cousins, your cousins'
papaw.
cousins. But yeah, they're
Your
right.
dog.
This is a good time of the week. Yeah, I don't know how that works, but well, we're gonna start off with LSU football. Briefly, just discuss their upcoming game against Florida after losing to Alabama by a score of 42-28. Womp womp. LSU gave up 507 total yards, and 250 of those came from Jalen Milroe on the game. So let's talk about it. With the LSU depth on defense kind of short in this one, let's talk about the positives. Let's talk about how did you think the freshmen played this game?
Yeah, man. Considering what they were kind of thrown into, I thought the freshmen did great, especially Toviano and them. I mean, you can't have your expectations set too high for them because they are just freshmen. But, all things considered, they did really well, and they actually had me, not excited, but definitely a lot more positive than I was about, next year's secondary.
Yeah, I definitely felt good. I think all of us said that kind of after the game, once we had the emotions had kind of wore off, was you left this game feeling a lot better about your youth. I thought Deshaun Womack played a good game. I thought the freshmen in the secondary, especially Toviano, had a solid game. They did their job, man, especially in the secondary. They died a slow death, like I said on here, that they had to. They did that. It was just other things that you couldn't get it done.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think Deshaun Womack did well at points, nights ago. And I thought the freshman corners, like you said, and Toviano and Hughes played really phenomenal despite, the circumstances. I also thought that Parashan played really well. And if you develop these guys this summer, you're going to get better, no doubt. So I think that's kind of where your positivity comes from, and saying, hey, maybe it's not going to be that bad. But we talked a lot about effort in the Sunday show, and these younger guys, they showed they wanted to be out there, and those are kind of the only ones that were given the effort consistently compared to those older guys. And so, we're obviously with USC firing their defensive coordinator, Matt House kind of on the hot seat right now. So what are some key names that we might have to watch out for if Matt House gets far down the line?
I think the popular one is Dave Aranda. It feels like he's on the outs at Baylor. They're really struggling. They made the Big 12 championship a couple years ago, and it's all kind of been downhill from there. But if that doesn't work out, I would look at some guy, Duke's defensive coordinator, whose name escapes me right now. They've been a top 15 defense this entire year, and they've played really good defense. Of course, Mike Elko is kind of the head of that, but you still have a good defensive coordinator under him to make sure everything's running well. His name escapes me right now, but that would be the name I go with.
For me, I'd like to see Tony Gibson. I know Dave Aranda, like you said, is a really popular choice with LSU fans. And while I don't necessarily think it would be a bad thing, I think it's more just about what one of LSU's biggest problems has always been, and it's just looking backwards. This program needs to be a program that is looking forwards. You need to just forget about almost everything from the past. You need to stop bringing old names back. Pete Jenkins obviously is a little bit of
That's a different
story there because of defensive line coach absences and stuff like that. But I think this is a program that needs to be moving forward. You don't need to be looking backwards. While I think Dave Aranda still can be a good defensive coordinator, I just don't think he's the right move for LSU right now. I would like to see Tony Gibson from NC State.
Yeah, I like that one. And then another one I kind of came across that I could see kind of LSU making a lateral move was that Joe Rossi from Minnesota. That guy's been there for a while now. And they've consistently had, some really bad teams, and they've had great defenses with those teams.
Yeah.
So I think, that kind of shows that this guy's pretty good. So maybe give him a little interview.
Yeah, and the name of the Duke defensive coordinator, I just got it here, Tyler Santucci. Duke is currently the 27th ranked defense in the country. That's ahead of some schools like Texas, Florida State, Minnesota, some schools that we're saying are really good defensively. Duke is ahead of those guys.
What's his name?
Tyler Santucci.
Santucci.
Italian.
I like
Italian. Italian stallion. All right, but for this week in particular, LSU goes on to play Florida, and Trevor Etienne. That's a guy who's super talented at running the ball, man. And so what is this? What does the approach have to look like on defense this week, especially kind of with a guy that can hurt you, in the passing game and running it?
Well, before I address that, the approach should have been to recruit better. Because where are all the Etiennes from? Do y'all know?
Jennings, Louisiana.
Jennings, Louisiana. Recruit better, folks. But no, he's a really special athlete. He's just like his brother. I mean, they're both really special athletes with running the ball as well as catching the ball out of the backfield. And Graham Mertz really likes to use him as that sort of safety blanket out in the flats and things like that. It's going to be about wrapping up, and it's going to be about filling your run gap, filling up your assignment, and doing what you have to do.
Yeah, I mean, we saw just how bad the LSU run defense can be this past weekend, which is something I had warned about on the tailgate show on Friday, and I got a lot of crazy looks.
I mean, it was more so like quarterback rushing yards, though. It wasn't
still
like
rushing,
running
still
backs.
rushing. But I get what you're saying, but it's still like rushing defense. But yeah, I mean, we saw how bad it can be, and I just think that you're gonna have to really do your best to contain a guy like this. I think you need to have a lot of big guys up front. You need guys like Mason Smith who you have relied on to be good.
Quiet.
Actually be good.
Crickets.
That's where a lot of the problems come in is talent just not being the talent you thought it was.
He's regular, bro.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
And I've said it on this podcast before. My cousin, Matt Landgrass, you will see this at some point, by the way, because I will send it to you, is a coach at Vanderbilt Catholic High School, works as a offensive analyst with their football team. He was a coach at Central Lafourche when Mason Smith was at Terrebonne High School, and he told me from Jump Street, Mason Smith is regular. He is not the special talent that everybody has hyped him up to be, and so far he's been nothing but right about Mason Smith.
I mean, I think he is. I think he was, before the injuries, and I think he showed that in so many games as a freshman. But when you get hurt like that, and especially as a big guy, it's hard to come back from those and be as explosive. But for the rush, approach, I think LSU needs to focus more on getting home, and that's been something we preach so much this year, and it just hasn't happened. Yeah, it hasn't happened, and I think just getting as much pressure on the Florida offensive line as possible. I think LSU is going to have to play man coverage this week and send lots of pressure to get to Florida early in the game. Graham Mertz, kind of underrated. He's efficient and he makes some plays, but we need to see stunts, man. We didn't see that against Alabama. We didn't see that, in prior games. What's so complicated? You have great defensive ends that can go pick on interior linemen, and you just don't use that.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. And you and I were sitting there in the stands on Saturday, motioning to each other that we need to start running twists and things like that, and we just never saw it. But like you said, Graham Mertz is incredibly talented, and he's starting to play really well.
Smart quarterback.
Exactly. He's a veteran guy. He's got a lot of reps, and now he's got a lot of SEC reps to go along with that. He's playing well. He's not the Graham Mertz that we saw when Florida got drummed by Utah, and we were like, oh, my God, this Florida team is awful. He's not that guy. He's growing into his game. He's growing into the system, and he's becoming a really dangerous piece for Florida.
Yeah. And so, I mean, with Jaden Daniels likely out for Saturday, I mean, it's unknown for now, but a concussion like last week's is pretty hard to go out and play. I mean, you saw Brock Purdy go out and play, and he was the first quarterback to do that in a while, for just a week. But, I mean, in this game, if Garrett Nussmeier leads the offense, like I said, if he has to go out and play, what does he have to go out and do for LSU to win this game?
He's just got to be efficient. He's got to take care of the ball, which is two things that he hasn't shown that he's been able to do. I understand his limited reps, and he's been thrown into games as sort of a relief pitcher. But at the end of the day, he's still got a turnover problem, and he's still got an accuracy problem, and he's still got an efficiency problem. So he's going to have to minimize those things. He's not going to be able to get rid of him in a week, but he's going to have to do everything he can to minimize them for LSU to have a shot to win this game.
Yeah, I mean he's got to be smart with the ball. Don't try and force plays like he likes to do. That's kind of a big problem with him. But I still have faith in Nuss. I know a lot of people are kind of dumping on him after he got thrown into the depths of hell against Alabama.
Yeah, not ideal.
Yeah, it's just not a fair shot for the kid to accurately judge him off of.
Yeah.
And I'm not ready to say he still has all these problems that you saw in that game, because anybody's going to have problems getting thrown into that situation. You basically you're already losing. You tell this kid, all right, go out there and win this game.
Yeah. I agree with you. I mean, I think Nuss has to attack. And by that, I mean, I think he has to go out and throw the deep ball and with the one-on-one matchups. That's his game, man. Do what you like, what feels comfortable to you, but still find a way to protect the ball. And that's something, like you said, and he struggled to do. And like I said, we know he has an issue with interceptions, but maybe he'll be able to kind of be accurate downfield more than from what we saw in that time against Bama, because, look, we're going to be able to game plan for this now if Jaden is going to be gone. And I think that if he can just kind of throw it up for guys like Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors and be somewhat accurate, LSU's going to have a big day on offense. This Florida defense is bad. So moving on to the NFL, we're going to discuss the New Orleans Saints as they picked up their second straight win, this time against the Chicago Bears, led by rookie quarterback Tyson Bagent. What differences did you see from that Saints defense in the second half compared to these last few games where they were just kind of slower?
I think it was just coming back into form. I think the Saints were really out of form and kind of in a slump defensively. That I wasn't pounding alarm bells when the defense was struggling the way it was. It really didn't give me much cause for concern. But if I have to pinpoint some, I thought the defensive line did a much better job. Brian Brzee had another great day. He's looked really good so far. Carl Granderson continues to be worth every penny that he's been paid. For my money, he's actually been the Saints' best player so far this season.
On either side of the ball.
On all three phases of the ball. He's been outstanding, all pro levels of production out of Carl Granderson.
Yeah.
I just thought they did a better job, especially in the run game, which is something that we've kind of struggled with a little bit this year. I thought they did a really good job against the run, kind of holding down.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Saints have been, especially the last 3 weeks, they've been struggling in the first half for whatever reason. I don't know why, but you do have to give credit to Dennis Allen for going in and making these halftime adjustments, because they have been really good in the second half. You saw 5 total turnovers from his defense.
Mm-hmm. All in the second half, right? I think so.
2 were in the first half.
Yeah, 2 were in the first half.
Adebo got the pick and then forced the fumble and recovered.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, have a day Paulson Adebo. Huh?
Yeah, I love what I'm seeing from him. But yeah, I think in the second half they stepped up, and part of that is because of Dennis Allen's adjustments. And I'm not sold on him as a head coach. I don't think I ever will be. But he's a great defensive coordinator, and I wish we would have just kept him there and never promoted him in the first place. But
yeah, I agree.
Hindsight 2020, it is what it is.
Yeah, I thought the Saints did a great job of finally getting pressure to the quarterback, and it's something they kind of struggled with those past few weeks. Like Andon said, with those struggles, it was kind of with pressure problems comes more problems. It's harder for the corners to go out and do their best at covering and be physical, and you saw the pressure force Bagent to kind of throw those uncomfortable throws and lead to interceptions. But as far as the offense, do you think the Saints just aren't executing in some occasions?
Yeah, it just kind of felt off again, which is kind of how it's felt all year.
Not horrible.
It's definitely been better.
Yeah.
But it wasn't great. You'd like to see some different things. But honestly, it was so bad earlier this year that when you score 24 points in a game and you win, I kind of back off a little bit just because of how dreadful. You scored 6 points against Tampa Bay, or 9 points, excuse me. You scored 17 against Green Bay. 16 against Tennessee. Like, it's just as bad as it's been, I'll take positives.
It's improving. Yeah, it's improving.
Yeah, I said this earlier. I'm just big on don't apologize for how you win in the NFL.
Exactly.
It's as hard to do as it is already. Like, if you win, a win's a win. It's not like college football where there's good wins and bad wins. Yeah, like a win's a win. There are things to improve, and that's fine to point out. But I'm not going to sit here and say I'm disappointed in a win in the National Football League.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that haven't allowed the Saints to flourish on offense. I think it starts with the simple stuff, man. Like throwing off the right block in the flats, and then also just the simple drops, man. We've seen a lot of drops from Olave. We've seen some drops from Michael Thomas, and that's
uncharacteristic.
It's a little weird, right? And that kills, like, I guess, drives and the little things that kind of have to be fixed. And I also think that Carr has to kind of be able to extend his play outside of the pocket in some cases. I know that's not his game.
Did it a couple times this week.
But look, yeah, use it to. He has so much speed. He's so fast, and I think you have to kind of use that to your advantage in some cases. But do you kind of see the offense keeping up with the scoring? That they've been way better, right?
I think they can, and here's why. Here's your remaining schedule, and I know we'll get into this a little bit later too.
We can just talk about it now.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and get into it. Like here's the remaining schedule of the Saints, and this kind of be a two-part question: How can the offense keep it up, and what do we think about them for the rest of the year? At Minnesota, at Atlanta, home against Detroit, Carolina, New York Giants, at LA Rams, at Tampa Bay, home against Atlanta to finish out the year. I'm looking at these offenses. Only one of them really puts any fear in me. I think if this Saints team can score 25 to 28 points every game, they can very easily win all of these games with the way that the defense plays. I try not to feel very confident about the Saints very often.
Yeah.
But it's hard not to right now, especially with the remaining schedule and some of the quarterbacks that are going to be coming up on this schedule as well.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I'm just not super sold yet. You can talk about how good the offense has been lately, and it's been better, but it still hasn't been good. And you talk about how we've started to score more points recently, and I think Carmichael has definitely improved on some play calling. And as much crap as I gave him early in the season, I'm more than willing to give him credit. He's improved.
Yeah.
But you've played teams, the teams you played in the last couple weeks are the Bears, the Colts.
Colts aren't horrible.
You played the Jags, and you put up 24 on them, but their defense isn't exactly their strong point. You lost to the Texans and put up 13 on them.
Yeah, but that's who you're playing for the rest of the year. You're not playing any more good. You play one good team the rest of the year.
Yeah, you play the Lions.
You play Detroit.
Yeah,
I
guess sure. The rest of the season they can be solid against bad teams, but what does that mean?
It'll be like the Giants last year. But
I think that this team is good enough to win games in the playoffs if they play their best football.
I think so. It's just the inconsistency that hasn't really shown them to be that kind of
I saw
playoff team right now. But
we're like, real quick, sorry to interrupt. I think we're like projected. I think if the season were to end today or something, we would be
4th seed at home against Seattle.
And I do think you can beat Seattle.
I think Seattle's
it's a tough matchup, but I think you could beat them.
Yeah. I agree.
But I just I don't know.
At that point, you're one win away from going to an NFC Championship game.
Yeah, I don't think you get any farther than that.
Why not? Look, you put
the execution. Like I said,
the
it's got to
offense
get better.
that played against the Colts, who put up 38 points. Carr threw for 310.
I will say
Sheed
this:
had a big day.
The Saints should have scored way more than 24 this week, and that comes with them going for it on 4th down in their own territory, like in the red zone twice. So
and also running
I'll
a
say
QB
that.
sneak on 4th and 1 with Derek Carr when you had Taysom Hill on the sideline.
Yeah.
And Kamara had he was on the field for like 48% of the snaps, I believe, which is the lowest in his career. Like, dude, there's just so many things you look at where it's like, why is this happening?
I was kind of fine with it though, because Jamal Williams played well.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Like, sure, but still, you're just telling me Alvin Kamara's not going to play better than Jamal Williams? I mean, he's one of your best. He's probably your best weapon on offense, if we're being honest. He's top 2.
Taysom Hill, Michael Thomas.
Taysom Hill's good in certain scenarios.
Taysom Hill's good in every scenario.
Depends how you use him. But I mean, but regardless, Alvin Kamara is one of your best weapons. Yeah. So I think you have to have him more involved. It's like, sure, you got the win. And like I said, a win's a win. I'm not complaining about the win. But there are problems with this offense that I think are going to become bigger problems and prevent wins down the line, like we've seen them already this season.
Yeah, I expect the Saints to kind of open up their run game a little more. Like you said, they didn't really use Kamara a lot this last week. I guess that's a matchup thing. I'm not going to complain too much about it. Taysom was doing fine, so, I mean, why not keep feeding him? But I think Jamal Williams and Kamara are going to finally kind of work more as a unit over these next two.
Jamal Williams had 12 yards, by the way.
I think they're going to have
was good in the pass game, though. And he had some very good block.
Yeah.
Like, Jamal Williams is a great blocker and gets no credit for it.
He had 2 receptions for 6 yards.
It'll be okay. But we're going to talk about LSU women's basketball now, who is just absolutely loaded. Although they opened up their season yesterday at the time of recording against Colorado, and they got humbled. They lost by a score of 92-78. But we're not going to talk about last night. We're going to talk about, this upcoming season and how much of a depth difference do we see from this year's team compared to last.
It's definitely a lot better. There were points last year where you were only playing 7 girls, and now you can play 10 and feel very comfortable about where you're at. I think the depth is this team's strong point, especially the ability to shoot off the bench as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even my mom was talking about how the depth on this team is so much different. Even her, it's noticeable. I mean, you have girls, I guess, like Poa coming off the bench, like so much. They can shoot the lights out coming off the bench even earlier, and you've got more behind her. The depth is not a problem for this team.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I think within the offseason, everyone, including all the bench pieces, kind of took a step forward in their game. And then you have so many players on this team that could realistically start for another SEC team. And the depth this year, I think it's going to help down the stretch of long games where maybe those star players can't get it done. And I think that also just allows for players just to play their role really well on a team that, whether that may be defense, rebounding, shooting, whatever that case might be. So with the transfers of Haley Van Lith and Anissa Morrow, talk about what they bring to the table.
Go ahead.
It's just a veteran presence. It's an ability to take the ball and score the ball. It was 2 big pickups that, according to everybody around, Angel Reese wanted, everybody around the program wanted. They're not afraid to bring in the stars. The current players on the team aren't afraid to play with stars, and that's what it is. It's an ability, just a raw talent to be able to score the ball, and that's what both of them bring.
Yeah, that obviously the scoring is a huge benefit. I think they bring a lot of versatility to this team too. You saw a couple of bad things from Haley Van Lith on Monday night. It's
a lot of laziness.
A lot of it was passing. Her passes were god awful.
That comes with laziness.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Her passes were just bad. And I think part of that is Kim Mulkey. She even said this in one of the pressers before the year. Haley Van Lith has never had to be a true point guard before in her career, and that's kind of what Kim Mulkey is trying to teach her how to play. And I do think you're going to see that kind of improve.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then I think she's just a scoring machine, man.
Yeah.
Haley Van
No
Lith,
doubt
she can
about
hurt
that.
you in the paint. She can hurt you outside the arc. And then most importantly, hurt you mid-range. And I think a lot of people also sleep on how good her defense is. Last night that didn't really show, but it's going to get better. It's going to get better.
Block last night, though.
Yeah, and then you have a player like Anissa Morrow who's just suffocating on the defensive end. She can rebound like crazy. Her and Angel on the boards together down the line, it's going to be nightmares for teams, especially on the offensive side of the boards. She can also just shoot in the post or around the perimeter. And having her on the team, it's going to open up the offense for this team. So which player are you most excited to watch on this team for this year?
Probably Haley, because I'm excited. Like you said, she's an absolute scoring machine. But I'm excited to see how she improves throughout the season with things like passing and stuff like that, and how she can evolve more into that true point guard role. That is something I'm really excited to watch.
Yeah. What about you, Anna?
This is an answer that I had not considered until after the game last night. Mine's going to be freshman Michaela Williams.
No doubt.
Dropped 17 last night, shot 8 of 16 from the field, 4 boards. Just felt like every time she got a hold of the ball, something good was going to happen. On a night where it didn't
feel like it was going
to right
happen. Yep.
for LSU, Michaela Williams made a lot of things go right for them.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm actually going to say Anissa Morrow, just because I think she's all around your best player. I think she can do it all. She can score. She can play defense. She has great vision on the court, and she's going to make everyone around her better. And so I'm most excited to kind of watch that with the the lineups that they bring and see how good she makes other people look. But what's your predictions for the season? Just like ceiling, maybe?
I think they're going to make another deep run. I think the absolute ceiling is back-to-back national championships. I think this team has the talent to achieve that. I'm going to predict Elite Eight, Final Four. I'm not going to say that they're going to go out and win the national championship.
It's hard to do.
But it is very hard, and they're going to have to learn how to play together again. They're also going to have to learn how to play defense.
Yeah.
Because Angel
Slow.
Reese isn't a center. She's a power forward.
Yeah.
She's going to have to learn how to be big and be a big defensively. So I'm going to say Elite Eight, Final Four, but this team can achieve anything they want to.
Yeah.
I'm going to say repeat national champions. I think a lot of people aren't ready to after the other night, but I think the way I see this team going is throughout the season just get better and better and better. They're a team that doesn't know how to play with each other yet because they're just not used to each other.
Yeah.
I think throughout the season they're going to just evolve and turn into like an absolute juggernaut by the time that the tournament rolls around. And I think they're going to blow through it and win another one.
Yeah, I'm going to say this team at least makes an Elite Eight, just to be safe. But I think it's going to take them to get hot like they did last year to two-peat. And I think they, like we said, it's so early, man. It's so early to kind of figure this out. But they've got a lot of stuff to do. Like you said, you got to learn how to play defense. This team is slow, too, really slow in transition.
Which is something that I didn't expect because I went and covered the open gym. I watched them practice. And I texted y'all and said, this team looks really quick.
Yeah.
Now, it may have just been
I think Colorado's a really good ball team, too.
I agree with that.
They should have been way higher than 20 to start the season.
Absolutely agree with that. It may have been because they were in Las Vegas. The travel got to them a little bit.
Maybe.
They just came out slow and flat. That could be it. But
you look at the scrimmages, obviously. They look – obviously, you're playing different comp.
Yeah.
But I think playing that comp might have hurt you. I think that maybe got you too comfortable or something like that. Maybe – made you think something, hey, we can take it easier than we expected. But we're going to shift towards the LSU men's team now. After finishing last in the SEC last year, Matt McMahon hit the portal hard and has added many transfers. So after watching, the scrimmage and the first game last night, do you think that LSU has a shot to go out and just be competitive, man, against good teams that they lost to by a lot last year?
Yeah, I feel good. I really do. I was impressed by the performance. Won 102-60 against Mississippi Valley State last night. I feel really good about how they played. I feel really good about some of the talent on this roster. Mm-hmm. I think that last year wasn't indicative of what Mac McMahon's vision is for LSU basketball.
I agree.
I think that was a get-me-over year. Just let's deal with all the departures. Let's deal with all the sanctions. Let's get everything out the way. And then let me build my program. And I think we're starting to see that now. I think this team will be a lot better this year.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I think we can be a lot more than just flat out competitive. I'm really excited to watch this team. They had me feeling all the way back, bro. I was excited.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna beat a couple of good teams this year. Mm-hmm. They'll obviously lose a few. It's still a new team, but they're gonna be really, really, really exciting to watch.
Yeah, and I think Andon makes a really good point. I think people don't realize how hard it is to just build a program from what Will Wade left
from
with
scratch,
because it's kind of like the same thing with Brian Kelly and what Ed Orgeron did, but I think it's even worse when you look at it. This team was left with nothing, man. No talent, nothing. He had to bring his entire Murray State guys over with who only had really 1 year of eligibility, and you had to go out and just play with that on a nightly basis. That's hard to do, man.
You just had to figure it out.
Yeah, you had to figure it out against SEC teams, man. That's incredibly hard to do. And I think this team's going to be so different after watching. I think Matt McMahon went out and got some pieces to fill with some losses to the portal. But I think these guys are going to be more physical, and I think they're going to be able to score really well this year. I think that's something I saw. I think this team's going to be able to really score. I think the defense is going to actually be the problem, and that was actually – it was opposite last year.
Yeah.
And so I think they're going to be able to keep up with the big dogs in the SEC in games, and sometimes they pull off an upset or two. But with the addition of center Will Baker, how big is this for LSU to finally have a true center, I would say, since Naz Reid?
I talked about – you go ahead, Nate.
Will Baker is exactly what LSU needed, bro. We needed a cold white dude to come in here and set this program straight, bro. I'm telling you.
Keith Hornsby, bro.
Yes, dude. Best guy we've had since him, bro. I'm so excited to watch Will Baker, man. 29 points. I didn't even expect that out of him.
One miss, by the way. One miss.
Yeah, one miss. 29 points on 11.
How many minutes did he play?
11 shots.
Minutes.
There you go.
Miss.
There you go. 19 minutes.
19
he played
minutes.
a half of basketball, ladies and gentlemen.
Good
Yeah,
Lord.
I'm so excited to watch this dude, bro.
Have raved about Will Baker since I saw him play in the open gym. I told y'all about Will, but y'all already knew. I still texted y'all, hey, Will Baker's going to be a problem for some teams who aren't ready for him. And I've said all offseason this year, teams are going to come to the PMAC. They're going to be slow. They're not going to be ready to play LSU. And Will Baker's going to go out and drop 35 on them, and they go look up and lose.
Yep. I
He's
agree.
that good, dude.
Yeah.
He really is. He could score the ball at
Yeah.
all three levels. He's a better athlete than I gave him credit for at the start of the year. He had a dunk last night that made me go, whoa.
Sneaky athleticism.
Whoa.
Yeah, I agree. This kid can straight up score the ball, man. And his height is everything that LSU needed. And he's just so smart. Such a smart player. He can pass it out in double teams. That's something LSU centers, I cannot say enough. They have struggled so bad to do that. And this is a team where when they're going to go out and double him in the post, this LSU team can shoot it, man. I've seen so many improvements with Mwani Wilkinson, with Carlos Stewart. These guys can shoot. And that's something they couldn't do last year.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
I
man.
mean, like I said, if he continues to improve his rebounding, that's one thing that he was kind of struggling with. This team's going to benefit from it.
Yeah,
hugely.
like I said, he's sneaky. He's got that sneaky athleticism, man. He's smart.
You were sitting on
Dude,
that
he's
one, huh?
he's got that real like lunch pail work ethic to it, man, that you just love to see.
What does that even mean?
It's exactly what I said.
Lunch pail.
Yeah, like
He's
Oh,
got
yeah.
play. He's
Bootstraps,
a hard
man.
worker.
Yeah,
Pulls
when-
himself up by the bootstraps. He's a real blue
Yeah.
collar guy.
Yeah, exactly. And in the presser last night, I just want to talk about it. It was pretty funny. He said Jordan Wright was just talking about how great he is, and he's just like staring at him. You know, he's like staring at him with love eyes. And he's like, "Thanks, bro." And he's just a really like soft spoken kid, and I just love that about him. But who are some transfers other than Will Baker maybe that you think are going to perform well?
I'm gonna go 6'9" Kentucky transfer Damian Collins. I think that him and Will Baker are probably the best big man duo that LSU has had since Cavell Bigby Williams and Nas Reed.
Yeah,
Um,
that's actually how I would like compare it,
yeah, I think
because
that
Damian is like
much
Cavell.
more like
Yeah.
Cavell than not as big as Cavell was. Cavell was a legit 7-footer, but
Yeah.
Collins only 6'9", but he plays a lot bigger than that. I was really impressed with him. I think he's a phenomenal athlete. I remember seeing him during the open gym, man, and he is just so impressive. They said that they had to set new benchmarks on LSU does their own like combine for all the players before the
Yeah.
season starts. Matt McMahon said in his opening press conference
Mhm.
that they had to set new marks for the vertical jump because of Damian Collins. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of him. I'm a big fan of his work ethic as well. He's a good leader in the locker room. And I think he's going to
Like
be the
that.
one to watch.
Yeah, well, who are you going with?
I was gonna go with Jordan Wright.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, he was probably your second best player the other night. He was really good. He had second highest points on the team behind Will Baker.
Yeah.
But he came in from Vandy. I'm really excited.
Solid,
to see,
man.
Yeah,
He's
he's
a
a
solid
good
player.
player.
Yeah.
He's just a good player, man.
He's a
Like,
winner, man. And he might not be an NBA player, but this is a guy that's going to go out and be one of the best college basketball players. And I firmly
Yeah.
believe that. You saw it from Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt wasn't a great team last year, but I mean, they actually were, but it was because of guys like Jordan Wright. But I think with a team that you don't know how good your defense is going to be, Jordan Wright. Jordan Wright is excellent and has that great basketball IQ. He's explosive on transition defense, and he's going to help you get buckets when you need one. I think this guy is actually going to be like probably the best transfer in terms of just kind of like being there every night. But what's the ceiling for this team in your opinion?
They can make the NIT pretty comfortably.
Oh, wow.
I think that, like I said, this team is going to beat some good teams this year that are unprepared, that aren't
Yeah.
ready for the physical challenge that they're going to provide, because that's what Matt McMahon's all about. He's all about energy. He's all about effort. He's all about execution. And I really value all those things out of a basketball team. I think those are the things that win you games. So I think that this team can make – I'm not saying they're going to host any games. I'm not saying they're going to make a deep run, but I think they can make the NIT.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think NIT is a very realistic vision for this team.
Yeah.
Which, and a lot of people are like, oh, like shooting for the NIT, like that's what are you talking about? Like
Considering where you were.
considering where you were last year, we won how many SEC games?
2
Two. We went. I
One or
remember we
two.
went the entire month of January without winning a single game.
2-14, man.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm more than happy to make the NIT.
Yeah, I think you guys are selling this team short, man. With what I saw, like I said, I know it's the first game, but I think this team is on the come up, man. And I think that they could be at best, one of those last teams in. I think they could be like one of those 8-9 seeds that go out and play on one of the first nights.
I could
and I
see
think
that
they
too.
could sneak in just because look at the teams you go and play. You have a lot of quad one opportunities.
Opportunities.
You play
yeah.
Kansas State at home. You play Texas
Play
at a
Texas
neutral
A&M
site
twice. You
play-
play Alabama twice.
and you play
Tennessee.
Syracuse early in the season. You play a lot of
Kentucky.
quad one teams. So I think you're going to go out and win one or two of those games that you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And that's going to shoot your net up. That's going to shoot that
The big
up.
thing is going to be beating the teams that you think you should beat.
Yeah, that you need to beat.
How many
Yeah, for
games
sure.
around you think they'll win this year?
This is my next question for you. I'm gonna say 17-18. Like I said, I think this team's gonna really surprise us. People are selling Matt McMahon short. Man, this guy won a lot of games at Murray State with people that he built together, and I think that's his first small step here. So
Yeah, I
I'll go
was.
with that.
I was gonna say less than that. I was gonna say NIT range, but Andre's got me excited here. I think I'm gonna say close to 20 games. I'm gonna say 20.
I think 20. I think it's
I
20.
think we're going to go undefeated.
I think okay.
Hey,
Oh
why
god.
not?
Why not? 20 games. I feel like it's realistic.
I'm gonna say
But
20.
I'm gonna go smaller than
I'm
that.
surprised you didn't think 20.
I did
I
put 20.
figured we would be the
I
lowest.
put 20
I'm
actually.
gonna go,
I watched you change on your notes, so I'm messing.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go around 15 or 16.
Okay, that's fair.
I think that's a fair, realistic number. You win some games in the SEC that maybe you're not supposed to win, but you make the NIT pretty comfortably and you feel pretty good about yourself.
Yeah.
I agree. But now it is time for the Poo Poo Broussard.
Oh yeah,
Yes, buddy. And this weekly award is given to the worst performance of the week, whether
In
that's a team.
anything.
Yeah,
Could be-
anything.
it doesn't even have to be
Fan
a part of
base.
sports.
Apparently, it doesn't have to be sports after what we did last week. with-
Because last week I said a new
Halloween.
precedent.
Yep.
Did you hear it, Nate?
I did not. Who was your poo poo Bruce?
I gave it to people who don't give out candy on Halloween. They
I
give
like
out
that.
That's
almonds,
valid.
pencils, stuff like that.
I like
I
it.
gave them a
Yeah.
poo-poo Broussard to them.
yeah.
All right,
Okay.
who wants to
so
go first?
I got the easiest one, so I'll go. I'll go.
No, you go ahead.
I mean, mine's boring. So I'm straight up, guys. I'm sorry. It's gonna be repetitive. I'm going Matt House, dude. Really? I mean, like, you're gonna get fired if you don't stop this nonsense.
It's like the video. That's what I feel like doing right now is the video of him up in the defensive coordinator box.
yeah, buddy. How do you think we felt?
Like, bro. Like,
yeah.
I made a tweet. I was like, all he had to do was check Twitter.
I spent
if he
money
wanted
on
to
that
know.
trip to watch you come up with that master
You poo-pooed the
Disaster
bin.
class.
disaster
class.
Yeah, enough said.
I like giving the poo-poo Broussard to teams that I dislike. It makes my heart happy. I'm gonna go with the Atlanta Falcons this week.
Love it.
The starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings,
It was trash.
Dude.
Jaron Hall, got hurt, got injured through this game. Josh Dobbs come in, who they just traded for, hadn't had a rep of practice all week.
Didn't even know the snap.
The only thing he knew about the offense was this week's install for the Falcons game, and that was it. He told the coach, I can do everything in the install. I can't do anything else. Atlanta is up in this game halfway through the third quarter, 21-13, and they just made the Vikings go 3-and-out. Here is how the Falcons finished the game. Fumble, interception, punt, touchdown, end of game. They lost 31-28 to a guy that had only been there for 2 days.
He was literally
had no
Dude.
practice.
he was
reps.
literally practicing his
cadence.
timing. Yeah, with the center
Not
on the
only-
sideline.
literally-
That's
Not
so
only
funny.
did they lose, Josh Dobbs went 20 of 30 for 158 and 2 TDs. The guy went off.
Yeah.
Josh
he
Dobbs,
went
no,
off
but
on
like
you.
shout out to Josh Dobbs.
No,
I think
dude,
he's so good.
absolutely shout. This is much less me hating on the Falcons and more me giving some love to Josh Dobbs. The guy
Dude.
deserves it.
It turned me into such a huge Josh
But
Dobbs.
I was
Falcons-
already a fan,
yeah.
man.
The Falcons to piss down their leg the way they did, like they had the game. They were playing a guy
I mean,
who had
that's
only
a-
been there for 2 days.
We've seen that a couple times before.
Hey,
but
you know how many points they had?
28.
28.
Something
Something about those 28.
They lose 31 to
20.
28 to the Vikings. The Vikings are now above 500 and the Falcons have handed first place back to the New Orleans Saints.
Did-
Arthur Smith and your stupid mustache, you are the Pooper Broussard of the
Did
week.
you see the guy? Dude, I love Josh Dobbs now, especially. I already liked him, kind of like you said, but now I'm
Yeah.
like huge Josh Dobbs
Now I'm
fan.
like an enthusiast.
Did you see the guy who's a Vikings fan? he was like, "This is Josh Dobbs' team now," and shaved his
No,
head
hey.
bald and shaved his eyebrows off, bro.
He was
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was a ginger, so you couldn't really see his facial
Yeah.
hair, or he was a blonde. Sorry.
You know, he was ginger, and you couldn't see his
Yeah,
eyebrows.
you couldn't
anyway,
see it
but,
anyway, but it was
But
like
he went and shaved them off, and like that's the effect this man has had.
Justin
on
Jefferson
NFL
might not
fans.
actually hold out, and he actually might go and play next
He's
week.
not
Yeah.
supposed to play this week. They haven't activated him yet. All
Yeah.
signs say he's not going to play against the Saints this week.
Okay,
Interesting.
nice to hear that.
Good news. Yes.
Good news if you're
a Saints
Marshawn
fan.
Lattimore.
All right, is it my turn?
Yeah,
It is your turn.
I'm gonna go with the Milwaukee Brewers. We're gonna throw a little baseball in here.
Curveball.
Me and Andon pretty excited about this one as resident Cubs fans in the house. But Craig Counsell is now the new manager of the Chicago Cubs. One of the best managers in Major League Baseball.
Yep.
Just totally abandoned the Brewers.
I would have too.
Yeah, why? Why would you want to stay
part
in the
of it
Brewers?
though is the Cubs were never even in the discussion.
Yeah, they kept
He was
it
either going to
so
go
quiet.
back to Milwaukee or they were talking about him being the Mets manager, and he pops up.
I'm so
I saw
happy.
Mets and I
Go to
saw
the Cubs.
Cleveland. He was also apparently tied to the Astros a little bit. So we beat out the Astros.
Coming to the Cubs. And
I'm
we're about to drop a bag in the offseason.
The,
We're
the
back.
Cubs are about to open up the wallet. They're about to start making it rain like
yeah.
we in the club on the entire league this
Let's
this
go.
off season.
We're back.
The Cubs are back.
The Braves are not.
Hello? Yeah, is this the We're Back department? I'd like to file a claim.
We need to file a claim.
We're filing
ASAP.
a claim.
If you need to file a claim, call the We're Back department.
The
Our
Cubs are
sponsors
back.
today.
The Cubs are back.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Well, I like the enthusiasm, guys. I really do. I like
We're
I,
so
I like the
back.
excitement, and I
We're
can't
so back,
I can't
Andre.
say the same thing about the Braves because they're just gonna go and win a lot of ball games in the
Well,
regular
we're
season and get bounced by the Phillies in the playoffs. So that's gonna do it for here. Oh, sorry, guys. That's gonna do it here for us today on the Hodges Huddle. As always, thanks to Andon and Nathan for joining me. I'm your host Andre Champagne, and this has been the Hodges Huddle.